Hey everybody, Scott Mann, founder and CEO of the Stability Institute, where we broker knowledge and connect stability professionals on complex stability problems all over the world. And I am stoked to be coming to you today on Stability Television, or STAB TV, to talk to you about a fantastic nonprofit, non-governmental organization known as Spirit of America. I know these guys extremely well. I've worked with them for a long time. And I really want to make sure that you know about them too, because they are truly a collaborative entity out there that is promoting and fostering stability in some of the most challenging places on earth, many of the same places that you're working. Now, the founder and CEO of Spirit of America is a guy named Jim Hake. And I met Jim and his team a couple of years ago when I was still in uniform, still in Special Forces, and working the village stability problem in Afghanistan. And Jim and his team approached us asking how they could be helpful to the bottom-up grassroots activities we were doing in many of the remote rural areas of Afghanistan as we worked in these villages and communities. They were really serious about this, and they demonstrated how serious they were by living and working with Special Operations Forces in these tough areas, to include Panjwai District and other places of Kandahar that most folks either can't or won't go. That's just the kind of folks that Spirit of America has with them. Their brochure is in this blog. It's on our website. And I tell you, there's everything in here that you'd want to know about this outfit is in here. So I really encourage when the video is over for you to go in and check out the brochure and see what they have to offer and how they do business, because it's real important to understand that. I'll talk a little bit about it here, but it's going to be at a macro level. It's worth your time to dive into this document. It'll take you 5 to 10 minutes to cut through it, but it's certainly worth the investment of your time. You know, the problem that we face in a lot of these at-risk, undergoverned areas around the world is that we have to live and work at a very grassroots, community level and operate in a bottom-up fashion to address a lot of the sources and root causes of instability that destabilize these areas and open up the doors of opportunity for exploitation by violent extremists. We have got to be, our troops, our diplomats, our stability professionals have got to be in these areas and operating at a community level. Well, the challenge with that is that a lot of the solutions, resources, authorities, influence that are needed to address those sources and root causes of instability are often problems that far exceed the scope and capacity of our troops and diplomats from the government. These are societal problems that are best solved by the private sector. And so when we're operating remotely, far from any type of formal structure, our troops and our diplomats and our stability practitioners are often removed from any connection to the American people and the capacity of that private sector to reach out and help them. And you heard me say American people, that even though we are a global entity here at the Stability Institute, I want to be real clear about Spirit of America. They are an NGO that actively takes a side. And they take the side of American troops and diplomats that are operating in these far-flung places. And their vision is to get in there and enhance the humanitarian and good deeds done by the folks that are doing this, and to represent what America has to offer in these types of situations. So let me tell you a little bit about Spirit of America's mission, because I think it's real important to understand their mission statement and how they approach this. And rather than try to paraphrase it, I want to read it to you to make sure we get it right. Spirit of America supports the safety, success, and humanitarian work of Americans serving abroad by helping them assist local people and by connecting them to the capabilities, resources, and goodwill of Americans and the private sector. Now, there's a lot in that mission statement, but what I think is absolutely critical here is the reach back and connectivity and collaboration that is offered between the private and public sector here. And I will tell you that you'll find in this brochure when you go through it that although a lot of our strategic documents, our policy documents, our guidance documents talk about the importance of private public partnership. In other words, the partnerships between, say, troops doing stability operations, diplomats, and the private sector. There's a lot of talk about that, but frankly, there hasn't been a lot done in that regard. And as a career Green Beret, I can tell you I seldom saw that. And most stability practitioners will tell you that that did not occur that much. Well, the Spirit of America has broken new ground in that regard. Not only have they managed to partner with special operations forces, diplomats, and others in places like Colombia, Guyana, West Africa, and Afghanistan, but they have influenced DoD policy to allow non-contractors from Spirit of America to come in and work side by side with our stability practitioners, and that is a first. And this is a really important thing to know, that they will get in there and work side by side with our folks at a grassroots level, but then also represent that reach back to the private sector to bring forward all the talent and dynamic capacity that could be used to address many of those societal problems that frankly exceed what a lot of the stability practitioners are able to do. So they bring the best of both worlds. They can get in there at a local level, but they have tremendous collaborative reach back into the private sector. Now what I want to do is I want to tell you a little bit about how their process works. First of all, they have field representatives that go out into these undergoverned areas, and they work closely with the U.S. governmental folks that are in those areas, chains of command if it's military, country team if it's civilians. But they work very closely with the chain of command, and they put those field representatives down at a grassroots level where they can have the greatest impact and determine what the needs are. And that, of course, is the next step, is determining what the needs are of these local communities. And this needs-based approach, they work very closely with the troops and diplomats that are in these areas to ascertain what those needs are. And then once they do, the field representatives can sometimes approve the projects on the spot. And then at other times, they can send a written request back to the Home Office in California. And they draft these things up on score sheets, and they make these proposals back to the Home Office. And generally, within 24 to 72 hours, Spirit of America is going to give a response back on that funding. And if you've ever worked projects in places like Afghanistan and other undergoverned areas, you know that is a very quick turnaround. And I can tell you, some of the projects that they have done they're low cost, but they are high impact projects. They include things like purchasing motorcycles for Afghan local police, laptops for at-risk youth in areas where transnational gangs are proliferating, water projects in areas where water shortage is leading to a ton of conflict. These guys really get at the sources and root causes of instability and bring in some very high impact projects that are locally appropriate, sustainable, and very well coordinated with the troops and diplomats operating in this area. The other thing I'll tell you also is, some of you may be concerned about is operational security or force protection. Spirit of America, they are really good about working with you on protecting the information that is sensitive in that area. They're not going to release any information or put anything out there on the street that's going to compromise force protection. And they will work very closely with command channels and supervisor channels, to make sure that the information they put out is cleared and is not going to harm what your folks are doing in those areas. Now, they can either, when they fund these projects or resource these projects, they might use the resources that they have on hand to do that, or they might actually put it up on their website as a project and allow people to come in and contribute to that project. But either way, they have some very sound, well-established mechanisms for doing this. And again, they're operating in more places than just Afghanistan. They've operated in Iraq, they operate in Colombia, Guyana, West Africa, and they're continuing to expand and grow. So they have a lot of reach, and I think you'll find that in many of the areas where you are, there's a lot of potential collaboration here with Spirit of America. There's one other thing that I want to point out that I've noticed about this organization is they are very keen to connect with you at any point in your preparation and training, I would encourage you to reach out to Spirit of America well before you deploy or before you go into an area to operate in an undergoverned space. The sooner and earlier that you can connect with Spirit of America, the sooner that you can learn what they're about and how they operate, and that they can learn who you are and how you operate, the more you're going to get out of your collaboration together in these undergoverned areas. Get them out to your training, get them out to your base, build those relationships. They have a ton of information. They've operated in many of these undergoverned areas and have wonderful fidelity on what's going on there. So establish those relationships before you go. Now, if you're already in these undergoverned areas and you're just watching this video and learning about these guys, by all means, reach out to them. Reach out to them and see where the collaboration potential exists right now, because they're very responsive, they're very flexible, and they're very eager to help. And like I said, they really do take a stand. They take a stand with the troops and the diplomats that are out there getting it done at the grassroots level, and they'll certainly take a stand with you in that regard. So the way that you contact these guys is www.spiritofamerica.net. That's their website. You can go on there and learn all about them. Also, if you want to email them and get in touch with any of their staff members, you can contact them at staff@spiritofamerica.net. And don't forget, we're going to post their brochure, a very detailed brochure, on this blog and on our website at Stability Institute. And you should be able to go in that and find out any information that you need. Don't forget about the Ask the Institute button. If you want to learn more about the Spirit of America activities in the context of how we've done work with them, you can go to Ask the Institute, click that button, and it'll come right to us, and we'll get you a response very quickly. So as we wrap this thing up, I want to remind you that we really need your help in expanding the message and pushing the message out to other peers, to other stability practitioners out there. So please share this video with your friends on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. Help us get it out there. Help us get folks aware of this fantastic organization that can help people out. It's more than just Afghanistan. They work in a lot of places. So help us get the word out there. And hey, if you haven't joined Stability Institute yet, please do. Go to the New Members tab at www.stabilityinstitute.com. Fill out that little menu real quick, and we'll get you approved. The membership is free, and you'll find a ton of content there and stuff that's useful for you. Well, I hope this video served you. I hope that you learned something from it and that you see some potential to work with this fantastic organization called Spirit of America. Until next time, thanks for all that you do. This is Scott Mann, founder and CEO of Stability Institute, and thanks for watching Stability Television.